got some shows to get to know. Butterflies and fans, we understand. And for our squad, we bleed orange and blue. We analyze and criticize. If you're surprised, look in our eyes, and you'll realize that we're just like you. So if you wanna join our journey, follow the network and you will see the passion of the fans is what we do. So join the Ballroom Network today and support our team in any way, 'cause we bleed orange and
This is the Willis Twin Tower Show, right here on the Ballroom Network. We're here to rock and bring you the dirt. Tim and Jeff debating on the screen with the Podfather on the behind the scenes. They say the Irish bring luck. All we know is the Packers suck. It's Friday night. Are you ready for the show? Talking about the Bears, Irish music. This thing's about to blow. You've been waiting for this night all week. It's time for the Twins to speak. So sit down in that chair. Let's give it up for the Bears.
Feels like game day, doesn't it?
Teams are all gritty, all hail the Windy City. The Twins on play, and it's time to go Super Saiyan. It's Friday night. Are you ready for the show? Talking about the Bears, Irish music. This thing's about to blow.
What's up, Bears fans? Welcome back. After a couple weeks off, Willis Twin Towers podcast right here on the Ballroom Network. We're on a nice little streak here, guys. Bears are 7-3. I don't know if we really thought this is how it would look at the start of the season. At least I didn't. I can tell you that much right now. So we're in a great spot. Love to see where we're at. Before we get started here, guys, just a quick reminder, as always, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We have a ton of great content here in the Ballroom just about every single day of the week. So please feel free to do that. Get all the great content here on the channel. You can find us all on X or Twitter. Our executive producer, Aldo Gandia, is at Ballroom Network. You can find me at _ Jeff Willis, and you can find my partner here, Tim, at Tim Willis 24. So before we get started here, Tim, any quick thoughts right off the bat before we get going into the blast game here and the big fourth quarter drive? As you know, 3 games in a row now we've done this, and moving on to this game against Pittsburgh.
Well, I was just going to say, once again, finding a way to win. Really, the Bears controlled the entire game, but just like week 1, we started seeing it slip out of our hands again, and Minnesota started to claw back into the game, and at the end of the day, the better quarterback won the game, in my opinion. J.J. McCarthy didn't show enough. I mean, that first game, I didn't really think he looked all that great either. And then at the end of the game, they kind of just put a couple drives together and took the lead and won the game. But he just I don't want to say collapse isn't the right word, but I think we saw the true, real JJ McCarthy for what he is at this point in his career, which is, technically a rookie, hasn't really played a lot. But it was just great to see that Caleb is once again leading this team. Now, granted, he didn't have to do much on the last drive. That was set up beautifully by the Devin Duvernay kickoff return, which finally we got some special teams momentum there. But, at the end of the day, Caleb is still leading drives and leading into scores to take the leads and to get points on the board where we can have, those last drives like that. I'm pretty confident that regardless of that kick return, I feel like Caleb was going to drive us down the field, make a play to get us into field goal range anyway. Yeah. So, it's just been the story of his career so far. He's got this is the 5th fourth quarter lead.
He's won against Green Bay last year, and he's got like 4 or 5 this year. Now 3 in a row. I think it's 5 this year. So I think there's 6 now.
I believe it is 5 this year. And look, they've won 6 out of 7 games after the slow start to the season, which, to be in all honesty, the Bears should be 8-2 right now. So, very well should be. They should have won that game against Minnesota game 1, and then they would be 8-2 right now. Obviously they weren't going to win that Detroit game. They got, mollywopped in that game. And then, really the game with Baltimore, they had opportunities to win that as well. And they did
not play well. Now that was the worst game they played all season, was that game against Baltimore.
It was. So again, though, finding ways to win instead of finding ways to lose, which was the MO under Matt Eberflus. Ben Johnson is just a coach, guys. The guy just knows how to coach teams to win games. And he has coached this. It's all culture. It's just building that culture. And he has done such a phenomenal job of that. This team wants to play for him. These post-game press conferences are starting to get a little redundant just because it's the same message over and over and over again. But you know what? When you're winning games, I don't care. Keep the message the same because it's working. Whatever you're doing is working. Keep doing that. And I think that the Bears are going to win this weekend, which we'll get to the Steelers game later. But again, I see no reason why they don't win this game too. And they move themselves to 8-3. We should have opened with this, but the Bears are in sole possession of first place in the NFC North for the first time since 2018? This is impressive what's going on right now. And I don't care. Everybody wants to piss and moan and whine and complain. That looked really gay for a second there.
That's worse than that. His brothers, buddy.
Yeah. You're instant shot. But anyway, they are just the way this is going. They're fine. It's just impressive the route that they're going right now, how they've managed to do this. I don't care who they're playing. This is the National Football League. Good teams lose to bad teams all the time, and bad teams beat good teams all the time. It happens. But my point in that is every team in the NFL is a good football team. These are good football players. Everybody has great players on their roster. Any team can win on any given day. So I don't care if it's believed that the Bears are playing poor teams based on record or whatever. All of the teams that they've played have had great players on them. The Bears beat a bad, quote unquote, bad Cincinnati Bengals team without Joe Burrow, but that offense is absolutely stacked. The defense is piss poor, no question about it. But Al Golden is a really good defensive coordinator, so I don't care how bad their defense is right now. It's a well-coached defense, and at some point they're going to, make some plays, I would hope. I just think they're poorly constructed on defense, roster-wise. But that offense is really freaking good. And the Bears found a way to win that game. The Giants, a sleeping team, in my opinion, they're a solid football team. That's a really good roster over there. Offensively, they can score points in bunches at times. Their defense, especially that front seven, is really good. That defensive line is fantastic. They just find ways to lose, which is why they fired Brian Daboll. But they've been in some really close games with some really good teams, and they've lost. They had a huge lead. Who was it that Denver? They were beating Denver handily and lost that game. So I don't care who we're playing. I don't care what team it is. All you can do is play the team that's in front of you. And if you win, that's all that matters, because I've said this over the last few weeks and I'll say it again. These teams, when you can beat these quote unquote bad teams in the regular season, vault yourselves into the playoffs. Once you build a little bit of that confidence and you start getting on a roll, it doesn't matter who's in front of you. You always have a puncher's chance to win the football game. And that's exactly what the Bears are doing right now. So keep it up. Keep winning these tight contested games. I don't care if it's tight or if it's a huge win. I don't care. A win is a win. Just keep winning games, vault yourself in the playoffs, and anything can happen. Anybody has a chance to play us. All it takes is a run. Any team can make a run. We saw it with Philly with Nick Foles. We've seen it countless times in the playoffs. It happens with teams all the time. The New York Giants started 0-2 back in, 2009 when they played the Patriots, an undefeated Patriots team, and beat them. They started that season 0-2 and had a very low chance to even make the playoffs. Ended up 10-6, had a good run into the playoffs, went through, bulldozed through the playoffs, and then beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So anything can happen. Just keep on the run that you're on. Things are going to happen. So I'm tired of that narrative about who they played, who they've beaten. I don't care. They're winning football games. And if they Steelers this week, that's a big win. And if they can go in and play Philly on Black Friday in 2 weeks and win that game, the Bears are legit. I don't care what anybody says because that Eagles team is fabulous.
Here's the thing. I'll try to make this quick because it's a kind of an interesting topic you're on right now. As far as here's the thing with the Bears. I saw a comment from somebody a minute ago saying that the team is it's kind of like a past season. 2001, I think he said, was the year where the team is just not for real yet. Yeah, here it is. 2001 all over again. This team is not for real yet, is what Ralph says. And here's the thing, Ralph, is what I'm not going to say that this team isn't for real, quote unquote, because it depends on exactly how you define that. But do I think this team is a potential playoff team at this point? Yes, I did not think that several weeks ago. The way they've found a way to win football games, though, shows me that this team knows how to win in adversity, knows how to scratch and claw their way and play 60 minutes of ball. That's a big deal in this league. The thing that makes me really optimistic about this team, though, is that they have not played their best brand of football for 60 minutes, though. They have not had a single game, and Johnson has alluded to this in his press conferences several times now. They have not, as a team, collectively played their best ball for an entire game. Like you said, Tim, there's been several games where they just kind of let the other team scratch and claw their way back in, where they had a nice lead or whatever the case may be, or even the games and they lost. They just have not played great for an entire 60 minutes. They played well enough to win, and they've had some clutch moments like you've talked about late in the games where Caleb is leading the drives to win, in the fourth quarter with less than a minute left. Last week they had 50 seconds left and find a way to win with the big Duvernay return. So, I mean, there's the thing is I see where you're coming from, Ralph. I don't think this is like a Super Bowl winning team right now. No, I don't see that. They're a young team. When they get into the play, if they do make the playoffs, I could see them getting there and having difficulty with a seasoned team who's been there, done that before, like a Philly, or even like Detroit, and having a difficulty winning that football game, and they lose there. So I don't think this team is a Super Bowl team right now. Being at the top of the division is nice. They got a lot of good teams coming up. They're about to play here, Pittsburgh being one of them. So it's a tough sledding the rest of the way. I do think they have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. I don't think they're a team that's going to make a ton of noise in the playoffs. I will say that. But they're on the right. Guys, we've been talking about this many times. They're on the right track here. We're moving in the right direction. This is exactly what we want to see. A young team scratching and clawing, getting it done in the face of adversity. So, and winning on the road last week in Minnesota after losing the opening game at home. It's a big deal, guys. So I'm proud of where they're at. I think it's a great thing where they're at. Whether or not they're for real right now that's a subjective opinion. So it depends on how you view it. Depends on how you look at it. But I do understand your thought process, though. Thought process there, Ralph. Excuse me, if I could talk. So before we move on here, Tim, do you have any last thoughts on this?
Now, I was just going to mention King Booker World made a great point about how it's funny the division is pretty much playing the same teams, but only the Bears haven't played anybody. Yeah, it's interesting how that works. And one of my good friends is an Eagles fan, and he and I have been talking lately. We're both really excited for this game next Friday. But we're having a conversation. The Bears are 3-0 against the NFC East, and the Eagles are 3-0 against the NFC North. So this is like the game to determine who the better team is against the other division. Like, this is a huge game, and everybody there's this like running joke going around that the Bears and the Eagles are in cahoots and both like have this pact to beat their entire divisions, and then whatever. I'm not really sure what the yeah, it's like they've got some sort of scheme going on. But that's a really interesting point that the two of the better divisions in the NFC at this point right now, right? I mean, what was expected to be two of the better divisions. I mean, everybody considered the NFC North was probably going to be the best division in the NFC, and the NFC East is going to be right there with them because you've got Philly and Washington, both good teams, both went far in the playoffs. Obviously, Philly winning the Super Bowl and Washington going to the NFC Championship game. And then obviously with the North, you've got Green Bay who made the deals. Everybody thought, or not everybody else other than Green Bay realized that was a mistake and that wasn't going to vault them into the playoffs or vault them over the top like they thought.
I don't know if that was a mistake, but
it was a mistake. Well, I'll get into that later. It was clearly a mistake. But my point is, like, everybody in Green Bay, they thought that was going to vault them over the top and make them a Super Bowl contender right away. Minnesota had a great year last year. JJ McCarthy is in and he's healthy now. There was a lot of expectation for that, and especially the QB whisperer and Kevin O'Connell over there with a great defensive coordinator on Brian Flores. And then obviously Detroit, the 2 straight years of winning the division and making the NFC Championship 2 years ago, and then lost last year, losing an ugly game, that first playoff game that nobody really expected to happen. There was a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? They were fired up to get to this season and to make another push, and not really gone that well for the other NFC North teams this year, to be honest. I mean, there's the only one with a losing record is Minnesota at this point, and they're 4-5, so it's not like they're a bad team. And the others are 6-4 and 6-3-1 or 5-3-1 or whatever. So it's not a terrible division still. The North is still a good division, and the NFC East, I mean, you've seen a big fall off with Washington, but Philly is still 8-2. So I mean, these are good teams we're talking about here, and if the Bears are able to pull one off against Philly, I mean, if that happens, this narrative has got to flip with people. Like, that clearly makes the Bears a legitimate contender in the NFC. Like, seriously, if they can beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the favorites, in my opinion, in the NFC this year. I mean, returning Super Bowl champions, had a couple of rocky games there, but they're still 8-2. Their defense is phenomenal. I mean, that would be huge if the Bears can sneak into that game. I don't want to jump too far because you got to worry about the game that's right in front of you here this week, but that's huge. So, let's talk a little bit about last week's game before we get into Pittsburgh. And, we mentioned a few things early on here, like the kickoff return and how they are finding ways to win. But for the most part, it wasn't a real clean game on the offensive side of the ball. We struggled a little bit. Caleb didn't have his best game statistically, but I thought Caleb played really well. I thought he played really well. Obviously, the stats didn't show that. But again, this is 2 weeks in a row now where the storyline has kind of been drop passes by the receivers. Like, it's not there. This is something that's really going to have to get cleaned up. This shouldn't be happening. I mean, DJ drops a ball right in his breadbasket, right over the middle. And then he gets like the exact same play, catches it, but barely, like, he drops it, and it was a miraculous catch how he ended up finishing the play.
Yeah, that was a wild play.
It was.
I was just saying, and it was funny you're saying that because I was telling one of the people I was watching the game with, man, he shouldn't have made it that hard on himself. It should have been much easier catch than that.
That's exactly my point. Like, that should have been an easy catch, and he made it really difficult. It was really impressive, but it made it really difficult. So again, like, this has got to be fixed, because there was at least five that I can remember, or 5 that I during the game. I don't remember what my count was, but it was somewhere around 5 drops.
Just too damn many.
It's way too many, and that's the difference between a completion percentage in the 50s and one that's in the 60s. I can't talk. Realistically. So in any case, it's got to improve for the receivers. Like, this is way too good of a receiver room to be dropping passes like that. And I'm hearing a lot about Caleb's fastball and him throwing it, but you know what? Don't give me that BS. These are NFL wide receivers. Catch the dang ball. Catch the dang freaking ball.
Yes,
I mean, it's in your
what
hand.
I'm seeing, the shit that I'm seeing in most of these cases is the same thing you see 99% of the time when guys drop passes, is because they're looking to make a play before they've actually made the catch. So if these guys would just focus on making the damn catch before turning upfield, they would probably make the catch 99.9% of the time where they're dropping these balls. And Aldo has a graphic on the screen here saying disturbing trend of increased drops to the Bears receivers. The drop rate had recently ballooned to 16.3% over the prior 3 games.
That is awful.
It's insanity. 16% of your passes are being dropped. That's unheard of. It should never happen like that. These are professional receivers, like you said, Tim. You got to be catching balls. I mean, especially when you got guys like DJ, who has never had an issue catching passes in his career.
Ever.
Rome in college, who did not have issues catching passes because he had such strong hands.
Or last year, for that matter.
This year, Rome has had a serious issue with catching balls, and I don't know what his deal is. And you even had a Cole a few weeks ago who had a couple uncharacteristic drops. This is a guy who never drops anything. So
Zacchaeus too.
And Zacchaeus, that's why his role is kind of going down. Burton has taken over some, but even Burton dropped a pass a couple weeks ago. So it's like, this stuff is happening every once in a while. And it's like, it's flabbergasting to me. So, that stuff's got to improve. Johnson said in the presser a couple weeks ago, like, if this was something we were seeing a lot more in practice, seeing an issue of in practice, we'd probably address it more, but it hasn't been. Well, here's the problem though, is it's 2 games in a row now this is going on. So I think it's time to address this shit. It can't happen anymore. So, there's not a whole lot of complaints we got to make about this coaching staff. Okay. But like, this is something that's got to be addressed because it's been
it's no longer a one-off. This has now happened twice in a row, 2 weeks in a row.
And I agree, Vizo, it is contagious. When guys start dropping passes, it's like it gets in their heads a little bit. And not just one guy's dropping, and now you got multiple guys dropping passes. So it's, and it gets into quarterback's confidence head too. Maybe he's throwing balls a little bit off target now and making the pass a little bit more difficult for the receivers to catch. So now it's a problem for everybody. Everybody's having issues here. So I agree with you. It is a contagious thing. So let's get this shit corrected. We got to have some easier times here, especially late in games when we're like you said, Tim, we got leads and we're kind of like letting them slip away. Where I agree with you about earlier, we were in control of that game against Minnesota for the most part, and just kind of till the end let it go, and then we almost lost if not for the fact that we're so good in these 2-minute drives at the end of football games. So, Cliff Jugg's machine is sitting right there for him to use. Let's use them more. Let's get in there and make sure we're not dropping passes. Rome, that's the one that I really don't get. Rome dropping all these balls. I mean, it's crazy to me because this guy's supposed to be a number one receiver, and there's been several balls that he absolutely should have caught that he dropped inexplicably. So he's the biggest problem to me as far as the drops are concerned right now because of who he is. So we got to get that shit figured out like right away. But and although that comment is hilarious, I'm not going to read it off on camera, but it's good. Anyways, Cliff, he says, let's ask Rome's dad what's wrong. He obviously has a lot to say about his son and needing to get more targets and shit, but maybe if he wasn't dropping so many balls, he'd probably get more targets. In any case, I'm kind of being a little tongue-in-cheek with that, but I agree, Ron. We're in first place. It's a great place to be right now with all this. Again, it's like I said earlier, when you're 7-3, and I think it was Matt Bowen who was talking about this on 670 The Score earlier this week. Maybe it wasn't. It was Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was talking about this earlier this week on 670. When you're a team who is at 7-3 and you're not playing your best brand of ball over the course of 60 minutes, as I said before, that is a really good spot to be. You got to be feeling damn good about yourself because now it's like, what's it going to look like when we do start playing our best ball for 60 minutes? I mean, are you talking about a legitimate contender now? Possibly. I do think there's still a couple holes here and there, but this team is awfully close to being right there. They really are. I mean, I don't think, like I said earlier, I don't think they're quite like a playoff team yet. They remind me a lot of the 2018 squad where it's like they're very, very talented. They're good enough to win a lot of games. I just don't think they're like a playoff winning caliber team yet. But that comes with time and experience. So let's just get to the playoffs first and see how it goes. Getting a little ahead of ourselves with that, but they're kind of on that trajectory right now, being at 7-3. That's, they're one of the better teams in the league at this point. So, anyways, I mean, is there anything else you want to add to that, Tim? We probably should kind of transition into this Pittsburgh game before we get into some of the questions here at the end. Any last
No, we can go ahead and jump right into this Pittsburgh game. So, first topic, the big one right now is who's playing linebacker this week because it's not looking good. We have our top 3 linebackers are all out this week, which leaves you with who? I mean, obviously, Hippolyte is obviously going to have to start and play. Which linebacker position, I don't know. But if I had to guess, I would say this is going to be a game where they play a lot more dime and nickel. And having CGJ out there a lot, probably playing in the slot a lot, or playing off, basically as an all.
Isn't Kyler coming back this week too? Kyler Gordon, I think he's supposed to be playing.
They have not committed to that yet, the way I understand it, unless I missed something today. But it doesn't sound like they've really committed to that. So I mean, it's gonna be rough. So
look at this list here, dear Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, here's
Not looking good.
for you guys who can't see the list: Edmonds, Edwards, Travis Homer, Roshan Johnson, Noah Sewell are all out. Benedette, Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, all questionable. So, but here's the nice thing about it, though.
Kyler can't play. Neither can Jalen, I don't think.
What are you saying?
They're still in their 20. Well, maybe they can. I don't know. They're in their 21-day window.
That means they can be activated.
Yeah.
So the thing is, what's nice is Brisker, Gordon, and Jalen all practiced in full. So if they're able to go, I mean, getting Jalen Johnson back would be absolutely freaking massive get, yes. Especially with how banged up they've been in the secondary. And I will say this, though, just to kind of a little off subject here. The way Nahshon Wright has played for his team this season, he's going to earn himself a payday from another team in the offseason. And the Bears might get a comp pick out of that. So he's played some damn good ball, and he's earned himself a starting job somewhere else. But in any case, this is, let's get to the big question that's been talked about as far as the Steelers are concerned, because we do have a clip for this also. Whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to play this game. For those of you who don't know, he's got an injury to his non-throwing hand. And because of that, he's been saying he wants to play because of the situation being Chicago and everything like that. But I don't know how I feel whether he's going to play or not. Let's play you guys this clip that we have of Rodgers talking about it, and then we'll kind of dig into it a little bit more.
There's incentive for every opponent, but I have enjoyed many a Sunday and Monday and many Thursdays in that city. It's a great sports town, phenomenal sports fans, and great place to play.
Do you sort of thrive off of being the villain there a little bit? Sort of enjoy that?
I'd rather not be. I mean, I'm not in Green Bay anymore. I feel like we can let bygones be bygones. Maybe I can, I guess. It's a great rivalry. I mean, in the history of all sports, you talk about the Lakers and the Celtics and the Red Sox and the Yankees. You got to talk about the Packers and the Bears. And there's been some great memories there. When I first got to Green Bay, the Bears had the all-time series lead. When I left, the Packers did. And since J. Love has taken over, it's even gotten better. But I hope those fans can put that behind them. I'm sure they can't. Don't expect them to. But I really enjoy the city. They got great sports fans. I grew up watching WGN on my five-channel TV back in the day. So I was a Cubs fan and a Bulls fan. How can you not be a Bulls fan unless you don't like Michael Jordan? I did. I love them. So it was a lot of fun memories over the years.
All right. So as most of you guys know, this dude has a real history as far as his rivalry with the Bears. Most of you know. If you don't already know, I'd be shocked. But
I'm going to stop you right there really quick. It is not much of a rivalry. It is not much of a rivalry. He has dominated Chicago.
He has. I'm just saying, it's like we all know, we're all familiar with the I own you. He did, with the heavyweight championship belt and all that. This is, it means a lot to him beating the Bears. It matters to him. I would not be shocked one bit if he played this game. That being said, if he's got a broken wrist or whatever it is in his hand, his non-throwing hand, I don't see how much you could take as far as like hits or even, you still got to catch the snap. There's handoffs you got to do with your left hand sometimes. I'd be surprised if he's not having trouble with that. And if he does take a hit or two and lands on it, he might be out of the game at that point. So, if that's the case, and J2K made an interesting comment earlier, the fact that the Bears have 3 linebackers out and the Steelers run so little, I think they're like 28th in the league. I think is what the statistic you put up was, J2K, in their rush rate. That is a good thing for the Bears because they're down their linebackers. But here's the thing, though, is like if Rodgers doesn't play, they probably are going to run the ball a lot more. If you got to put Mason Rudolph in their old googly eye after the hit from Myles Garrett several years ago, they're probably going to be running the ball a lot if Mason Rudolph's in there. So we'll have to wait and see. And yes, J2K, it's stress fracture. It is pain management. So how much pain can he take? Again, if he gets hit a couple times, he lands on that thing. Is he really going to be able to keep going with that? I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. He might take some ayahuasca before the game. Maybe he forgets all about it. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't know. I just think it's funny. I know a lot of you guys do want to see him play, and a lot of people don't want to see him play. So give us your thoughts real quick if you want to see Rodgers against the Bears or if you don't want to see him against the Bears. Me personally, would I love to see the Bears kick the piss out of Aaron Rodgers because they can't stand the guy so much? Yeah, I would love that. But I also want to win the football game, and I give a shit less who plays in it. Whether it's Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Mason Rudolph, just win, baby. That's all I care about. In the words of Al Davis, just win, baby. So that's just my personal preference. Do you have a preference, Tim, whether he plays?
Yeah, I want Rodgers to play. I want to beat Rodgers. That's what I want. I mean, there's no reason that the Bears can't beat this guy. Like, I know he's had a lot of success against Chicago, but this is not the same team that he played against all those years in Green Bay. This is a totally different team. This is not the kind of coach that comes in here and is just going to let Rodgers walk all over his football team. That is not Ben Johnson for you. He's going to have everything for him. And defensive coordinator being Dennis Allen, I could see him throwing the kitchen sink at Rodgers and saying, okay, beat me. And I just don't. This is not the same team. I think they're going to take him out. I think this is a game where if Rodgers plays, I feel good about the Bears winning. I mean, I really feel good about the Bears winning if it's Mason Rudolph, but I want Rodgers. I want to beat Rodgers because the last time they played him did not go so well. So I really, really want it to be Rodgers. But that's just my preference. I mean, we've at some point, if this is the last game that the Bears ever play against Aaron Rodgers, please, for the love of God, go out on a high note, especially with all that smack he's talking. Screw that guy. I hate him. He's so weird, too. He's just not a normal person. This dude has got to be loaded every single time he's in front of the television screen. Has to be.
Yeah, we have something interesting I want to play for you guys here in a minute, too. But speaking of Rodgers, I've always just kind of thought he's like a textbook narcissist. He really is. I mean, yeah, he's a great quarterback with a great talent for an arm, but it's like there's so many situations in life where this guy just seems like he thinks he's so much better than he really is. And it's like, whatever, more power to him. That's how most of these guys get to be tremendous athletes and as successful as they are. So whatever gets him to that point is fine. He is definitely a strange guy. I don't think there's a whole lot of argument people would make about that, but whatever. I mean, he's unfortunately been a pain in the Bears side for a lot of years. He's not in Green Bay anymore, luckily, but it would be nice if he played and the Bears were able to spank his ass one last time before he hangs them cleats up. So it would be fun to see. Again, though, I really don't care who they play or who ends up playing quarterback for them as long as they win the game. But again, it would be kind of nice to see him get smacked around a little bit before he retired. But there is a clip we have, speaking of the linebacker shortage that the Bears are going to have this week. Dennis Allen was talking about the difficulty that the team may have tackling these tight ends that the Pittsburgh have, because they have three really good tight ends over there between Washington and Freiermuth, and who's the other one? I can't think of his name now. Shoot. Somebody help me in the chat. I can't remember the third tight end's name now. But between Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, thank you, Aldo. That's the pass catching receiver there. So these guys are a load, and we do have that clip from Down in Sound we're going to play for you guys here.
I think in general, the tight end position that they have is a very talented group. And they all have a unique skill set, and they use them all in different ways. And so I think, our ability to defend these tight ends is going to be important, in this game. And like I said, each one of them has a different skill set and things that they do really well. And so it all presents, a lot of challenges for us.
Yeah, he had the one play the other day where trucking guys and getting down the sideline. Is that something that you tell your guys about and it gets their attention?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, he's a factor when he's got the ball in his hands, because he's really athletic. He can run and he's tough to get down, so we're going to need, when they throw the ball to him, we're going to need a lot of hats around the ball.
And, that's kind of the name of the game right now with the linebacker shortage. As I said before, not only do you have to be able to bring this guy down, but you got to cover this guy too. And who do you have covering tight ends a lot of time? Well, the linebacker. So when your top three linebackers are all out, you're expecting a young rookie in Hippolyte, a fourth rounder who a lot of people did not expect to even go that high in the draft, who's been inactive, by the way, for a majority of the season on the practice squad. This guy is now going to be tasked potentially with, covering one of these guys throughout the course of the game. I mean, J2K, I see your point about how Washington hasn't had a whole lot of receptions over the course of his career, but in a game like this, where it might make more sense to feature him a little bit more, considering the fact the Bears are down 3 tight ends, it may be a little bit more of an issue here. So I see why you say you have zero concern, but I would say it may be a little bit more of a concern because of the fact that we have this issue with our linebacker core and the injury issues that they have, as what I should have said. But because of that fact, I would not be surprised to see their tight ends get a little bit more usage. And again, if Aaron Rodgers plays, he's always going to look for a way to take advantage of the looks he's getting. So,
for me, it's less of a concern about how many catches he's getting in the game and what he's doing with those catches when he gets them.
That too.
As an explosive player, like that could be the difference in a game or a touchdown drive. This guy takes a little dump off pass 35 yards down the field because they can't frickin' tackle him. So that could make a big difference in this game if they make a couple of those plays. Even if he only has 2 catches in the game, if they go 2 catches for 60+ yards, that's a big deal. Those are some chunk plays. And, never know. He could be in the red zone and nobody can tackle him to bring him down and he scores. So that's a big boy.
I'd be more concerned about him in the red zone than just about anywhere else because of his size, and that would be my biggest issue with that. But, I'm not terribly concerned about him being like I don't think he's going to catch like 10 passes by any stretch. But again, like you said, Tim, I do think it's a matter of like, what's he going to do with the catches that he does get? Are they going to be significant, impactful ones? Not saying he's going to like catch the ball and run for 30 yards, but yeah, what if it's a red zone touchdown or something like that? That's a big deal, or a big first down in a critical moment. That makes a difference in a game like this. So I do think it's important to note that's a key matchup there between the tight ends and the linebackers, but also, this Bears offense has been playing pretty well in a lot of cases. The Steelers have a really damn good defensive line. The way the Bears offensive line has been playing has been spectacular to this point. I mean, they really have been pretty damn good, all things considered. I mean, early they started off kind of slow the first couple of games of the year, but the way they're playing right now, I mean, it's really good. And, with Benedette, the thing with him is going against Pittsburgh now is kind of the same thing it's been. Can this guy hold up against this pass rush? Is it going to be an issue for the Bears? Are we going to have a lot of issues with protecting Caleb in a game like this with, again, a very, very, very good front in Pittsburgh? They always have a good front every single year. I don't care who they've got on their line, what year it is. They're always, always, always dominant up front. It's because, again, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a lot like the Philadelphia Eagles and a lot of other teams in the way that a lot of successful teams, I should say, in the way they manage their rosters. They take premium positions or premium picks with premium positions. Other way around. Premium positions with premium picks. Thank you. Sorry. But in any case, does that make sense to you guys? You're talking about this front here that has had so many significant investments in it over the years and how they're always so good. Now the Bears have a front that's finally an offensive line that's doing what they need to do both in the run game and the pass game. That's a matchup I'm going to have my eyes on there because, they're very good in Pittsburgh. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think this is, to me, that's kind of the key matchup I'm seeing on that side of the ball. Outside of on defense, I think it's linebackers and their tight ends and how that's going to play out. But I also see on our, and DK Metcalf's a big factor too over there. Don't get me wrong. And George Pickens, not Pickens. What's the other guy's name? Help me out here, guys. Can't remember now. Anyways, but Tim, you're on mute, by the way. But the offensive line play for the Bears against the defensive line play for the Steelers, I'm going to have my eyes on. I do think if they can protect Caleb, it's going to be a big deal for the offense. But also, they got to be able to run the ball in this game. And that's one thing the Steelers have always been really good about is stopping the run. So if we can keep that going, the Bears have had a great run game this season too. So Calvin Austin, thank you, Aldo, is the other receiver I was failing to remember. And that's a guy's a speedster right there. So you got to be careful with him. But again, that matchup is where my eyes are going to be as far as the Bears offense. The defensive backs in Pittsburgh, I know they made the trade for Jalen Ramsey in the offseason. I don't see him as the kind of player that he was at one time. I do think that the Bears have an advantage in the receiver room versus the defensive back room of the Steelers if they can catch the damn ball. So I do think, again, the run game is going to be a big part of this football game. If the Bears can run it well, I think they have a legitimate chance. Pittsburgh's a damn good football team, though. This is going to be a hard-nosed, hard-fought game. I don't think there's going to be a ton of scoring in it. I just don't see a ton of explosive plays happening either. You might get some, but this is just two teams that, they're just grinding teams, man. And the Pittsburgh has always been that way. So I don't know, Tim, do you have any particular thoughts on that part of it as far as our offensive line and their defensive line, or is there something else you're kind of concerned about?
I agree. That's one of the biggest matchups because this offensive line has played so well this year. And of course, that Pittsburgh steel curtain is always very good. That defensive line is always good. They know how to get pressure. They know how to make it difficult on a quarterback. And you got two of the best edge rushers in football on the same team. So they're going to have their hands full, right? And Benedette, assuming he's playing, they're going to have their hands full. I will say this. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Theo Benedette had to come out one play in the last game. And does anybody know who came into the game? Because I do. It was not Braxton Jones. It was Ozzie Trapillo. So that tells me that he's the backup right now. So if Benedette were to not play, or if he goes out, Ozzie's going to be the guy starting at left tackle. That would be my guess. So that will be interesting. But yeah, they're going to have their hands full for sure on that offensive line, especially those two tackles. But I could feel this game plan being very similar to last week's, where there's going to be pressure. You're going to try to get the quick passing game rolling. You're going to try to throw the ball a lot more this game than you are going to run, most likely. So I could see that being the game plan. We'll see how it goes, but I would say that it's going to be more of a passing game scenario than it is going to be a rushing attack this week. But I'd be interested to see what they do. I could see a lot of running back screens in this game. I could see DeAndre Swift having a lot of success there. So we'll see what happens, but I could see that being part of it for sure. I'm just excited to see what happens offensively. I think that the Bears are going to have a good game offensively because it's been a little bit lackluster lately, especially last week. And I think they're going to want to get it going. But it's going to be all in my opinion, this game is going to be won or lost on the defensive side of the ball because we know the offense can score points. I'm very concerned with the defense making stops, especially with the linebacker core the way it is. Now, like we talked about earlier, though, if Jalen and Kyler play, that makes a huge difference on your defense. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I could also see that running game having a ton of success without those linebackers out there. So I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie. I am very nervous about those linebackers being out. That's huge.
The one thing about Pittsburgh's run game, though, and this is probably part of the reason why they have run the ball so little, is that I believe Warren is still hurt. Is he not? I don't believe he's playing this week.
I thought he was playing. Maybe I'm wrong.
He played last week. I could be wrong about Jalen Warren. He may be playing. Gainwell has played okay. They just don't have a real – to me, they're one of the weaker backfields in the league. When Warren's healthy, he's a pretty damn good player. Yeah. But he's not healthy very often, at least not fully 100% healthy. So – and yes, he does have a fumbling issue, King. From what I've seen in his career, he's been a guy who's fumbled quite a bit. So, I feel like this is a game, again, we know that the Bears like to punch after the football. They look for their takeaways. Kevin Byard had another interception last week. The guy's just playing great ball. But I do think it's something they're going to be looking to do. They're going to be looking to come after the ball again. And yes, J2K, Caleb Johnson's been an absolute bust for them. He can't even get on the field. And when he did early in the season, I think he had a fumble on a kickoff or something like right away, and he hasn't hardly seen the field since then. So,
if I'm not mistaken, he's gotten moved to the practice squad, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he might be, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. But in any case, okay, Cliff says Warren was a full participant today and is playing. So we will see him this coming weekend. But again, it's going to be something we're going to have to be able to stop is that run game. And even though they don't like to do it a ton because of Rodgers, if Rodgers don't play, you can guarantee they're going to be running the ball a lot. So we'll have to wait and see for both of those things. But still, it's going to be an interesting one here coming up with that matchup. So we're kind of getting close on time here. So let's kind of get into the questions that we have from you guys here. before we do run out of time, this is a good one from Aldo here. He wants to know from both us and the rest of you guys in the chat, do you think Caleb failed to reach 200 yards passing and no touchdowns against the Vikings because he was blitzed 66% of the time? I would say he failed to reach 200 yards passing because he's had an issue with his receivers catching a freaking ball for 2 weeks in a row now. So more so that than anything else. Now, the blitz, I felt like he had better answers for that than he has against Brian Flores at any point in his career to this point. So Flores is just a really good D coordinator. You're going to have issues with that guy no matter who the quarterback is. He's going to make shit difficult on him. That being said, as I just mentioned, I felt like their answers were so much better, and Caleb's response to it was so much better than it has been in his past. And he played, honestly, he played pretty well. Yeah, there's some throws he'd like to have back and some misplays, whatever, but no interceptions. What do you have? One sack? He got sacked one time, I think, maybe twice. And, again, that was just good pass rushers making really good plays. To me, that one with Grenard got him, or no, it was Van Ginkel, I think. The one Van Ginkel got him down. Caleb just about escaped it, but, he made a really nice play to bring him down. So, it's just, these guys, you can't hate too much on it. I thought he played a pretty good game. I don't think it's so much about the blitz in 66% of the time being blitzed. I think it's more so because of the receivers dropping balls. But what do you think, Tim?
Yeah, honestly, I thought they had a really good game plan and they schemed it well against the blitz to get rid of the ball and get it out of his hands quickly. I thought he did a great job of that. Again, I agree. The receivers have got to catch the freaking ball. That's going to make a huge difference. That's why they weren't scoring touchdowns. Guys dropping wide open passes down the middle of the field for big chunk yards. Like there were opportunities for a bunch of explosive plays in that game, and they just dropped the freaking ball. So they've got to do something in that regard. They've got to get that cleaned up. And that, honestly, that's what made the difference, in my opinion. I will say, and excuse me, Ben Johnson, Caleb, and Dennis Allen all mentioned in their pressers this week that they did a lot of that cat corner or that corner cat blitzing. And that's not typical of a Brian Flores defense. That was something they kind of just saw that they hadn't shown much of, and they showed a lot of that in this game. And that's just Brian Flores for you. He's really good at
it's the cat and mouse game.
Yeah, he plays that cat and mouse game. And there's times it's not something he shows often, and then he brings it in for this game, and he does that a lot. It feels like every time the Bears play Brian Flores, and I'm sure every offense in the NFL feels this way, he shows something that you don't normally see from him that you're not expecting. And it kind of threw him off track a few times there in that game. But it also opened up some opportunities offensively for him too, because it leaves the middle of the field a little bit more open. But again, that's a cat and mouse game, and the Bears didn't necessarily get on the winning end of that. But, you'll see now you're prepared for it in the future if it happens again. But again, they didn't play badly against it. I don't think Caleb played poorly against the blitz at all. I think he actually handled it really well. It's just, again, receivers got to catch the freaking ball. So I don't know if you guys have any more questions yet. I'm not seeing any. But I do. We got a lot of score predictions, and I'll let you go, Jeff, because I hate score predictions. I hate predicting, period, because I suck at it. And I always screw the Bears with my predictions, so I'm not going to say anything. We've been winning, but go ahead.
Well, I usually have to do it every week anyways for on Bear Report, where I do my writing samples, as you guys know. But, I feel like I've actually been having some pretty good success with that lately because the Bears played so well. But I do think that, as Aldo put on the screen earlier, Pittsburgh has not played well in Chicago in a long time. They're 1-12 in their last 13 games. Thank you, Aldo, for putting this back on here. Pittsburgh is 1-12 in games played in Chicago, with the lone win occurring during the 1995 season. So in the 13 games total they've played in Chicago, they've only won once in 1995. So that's got to be a good omen there, because of the fact they haven't played very well there to this point. And again, Bears have played really well lately. They're playing good ball. They're at the point where, again, it's like they might not play their best ball for 60 minutes, but they play well throughout chunks. And if you give this team time at the end of the football game, they are going to find a way to win. Yep. I've said it 3 weeks in a row now at the end of the football game. 3 weeks in a row when I've been watching these games. The other team takes the lead or the Bears lose the lead at the end of the football game and there's still some time left. I'm like, well, there's time. They're probably going to win. They're probably going to find a way to get this done because that's what they've been doing. Caleb has been such a clutch player in these moments.
Can I just say really quick, Ben Johnson's clock management is so phenomenal. He does such a good job managing the clock, giving them an opportunity to get the ball with just the right amount of time, burns the clock well. Like he does such a good job in time management, where it was a huge difference compared to last year.
I think they had all 3 of their timeouts with the 50 seconds left.
They did
last week. So I mean, that's why they were able to run the ball. When they had, after that big return, they were able to run the ball. They didn't have to worry about throwing. They could take some more time off the clock, and they picked up enough yardage to still be able to kick a manageable field goal for them. So, I still think the special teams is an issue. I've talked about this many times in the past on this show. For every big play they have like that, there's some blunderous play where it's like, what on earth are we doing here? We're giving up big plays in coverage. We're allowing touchdowns. The onside kick that was recovered against Cincinnati. It's like these are things that cannot happen. I really don't think Richard Hightower is going to retain his job next year because of all that. But, and again, Cairo Santos, he just doesn't have enough leg either, but that's just what I'm seeing. It's just a team who finds a way to win. You give them time, they're just going to find a way to get it done. They know what they got to do. They know what they got to have. The line to gain has to be to give Cairo a shot. If they got to score a touchdown, they know they're going to be able to get themselves in. And Ben just has such good play calling in those times to get his guys open. That play to Colston Loveland, when he won that game a few weeks ago, is a great play call. So it's just some of those things, they all go hand in hand together. And there is a good question here from J2K that I want to get to here. He wants to know how many winnable games are left and how many wins will it take to win the division and take the North. So, well, here's the thing is we finally did take the North. How long we're going to keep it, we'll have to wait and see. But Ryan Poles, you finally got what you said you were going to do. I was just going to
say, he finally gets to say it.
You finally did what we said we were going to do. But looking at the rest of the schedule here, how many winnable games are there? Well, J2K, to be honest with you, Pittsburgh's a winnable game. Philly, that's a tough one for me. If they play,
I still think it's a winnable game.
If they were able to play their best brand of ball for 60 minutes, is it a winnable game? Yes, but the Bears have not done that to this point. So I don't see that being a game where the Bears are going to take that one. It's going to be a great game, and I cannot wait to watch it. But again, especially because the fact that Philly's offensive line is so damn good, and the Bears' defensive line, quite frankly, is one of their weaknesses. I just don't see that being a game where the Bears can get that one done. Green Bay is a winnable game. They got 2 games there. They're not going to win them both, I don't think. But you got to get one of them. You got to be able to take one of those 2 games. You got the game against Cleveland. You can't lose that one. They suck. The game against San Francisco is going to be a tough one, real tough one. It's on the road in San Francisco against a very good team. Sunday Night Football, winnable game, sure. Is it a game they will win? I don't think so. And then you got that final game again against Detroit. So that's when you got to win. You can't lose both your games against Detroit. You want to finish this division at least 500. So is it 12-5 possible? Yeah, it is, J2K. I think it is possible. Do I think they are going to go 12-5? Remains to be seen. I think they have to win that game against Cleveland. You got to win 2 of those games in the division. So there's 3 right there. They very well could be 10-7 at the very least, or should be 10-7 at the very least. PZ says they'll be 4-5 depending on health. I kind of tend to agree with you on that one. It'll be somewhere around there. 3 to 4 wins probably in the next slate of games, in my opinion, because it is very tough sledding there. And there will probably be a game in there where it's like, how the hell you lose that game against a game you should not be losing? But
bad Cleveland Browns team.
That's that's the one I'm talking about. It's like those things do happen. This is again.
They do have a really good defense in Cleveland. A really good defense.
God, Myles Garrett's one of the very best players in the entire game. So you can't look past anybody. I mean, and Quinshon, they've got a good offense to an extent too. Quinshon Judkins is a good running back. Harold Fannin's a good young tight end. He's going to be a good player in this league for a long time. They got some pieces there. I don't think it's a game you'd be losing. You shouldn't be losing that game, but you can't look past them either. It's one of those things, again, like I said, where it's the game. It's the league where any given Sunday, anything can happen. There's always those games where you're like, how the hell does this happen? How do you lose to a team like that? But that being said, I do expect them to finish they're 7-3 right now. If they don't win 10 games, I think that's a massive failure at this point. So I do see them making that real push for the playoffs, but there's some tough games in there. Yeah. JoJo wants to know, with the 3 reserve linebackers, do we think they should play coverage or blitz heavy? Well, blitz heavy, I think what we're talking about here is less about schematics and more so about personnel usage, I think, is what we're going to see being the difference here with that, JoJo. I think you're going to see more of, I think it was what J2K was talking about earlier, more of like 5 to 6 down linemen, more of your nickel looks and dime looks with your slot, your nickel corners playing in that Sam linebacker spot, just because of the shortage of the linebackers right now. So I think that's what you'll see more so. Could you see some more blitzing? Yeah, because for one, CJ Gardner-Johnson's a damn good blitzer. So seeing him blitz more often would not be a surprise, especially with the fact he's already gotten home a couple times now. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. No, could I see it being a little bit more blitz heavy? Yes, especially considering the fact that you do want to rush Rodgers. You want to make him get rid of the ball faster. You don't want him to sit back there and pick you apart. That's the last thing in the world you want to do. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by it. I mean, what do you think, Tim?
I want to get back to JoJo's question, but I want to answer J2K's question because I didn't get to do that. And I
meant to get you in that. That's my bad.
They're fine, but it's important. I want to answer for a reason. Although, is it possible for you to pull up that schedule graphic and J2K's question back on the screen, please, if you can? I want to answer the first part of, to answer this the most easy way possible. There are 7 winnable games remaining. Every game on this schedule is a winnable game. The way the Bears are playing, the kind of team that they are constructed right now, every game is a winnable game. Are they going to win out? No, I don't believe that's likely or even very possible at this point. But there are 7 winnable games. I think they have to win at least 3 to make the postseason, to make the playoffs. I think they go 10-7, they're going to get in. I think they need to win a minimum of 4 games to win the division. So you got to go at least 4-3 the rest of the way. Probably need to win 5, honestly, because Green Bay could make a run. Detroit's only a game back. I mean, if they win 5 and you win 4, they're going to win the division. I mean, so they really, if they win 5 games, you can lock it up. They're going to win the division. If they can go 5-2 the rest of the way, the Bears will win the division. So
good.
I think it's a very good possibility. I think they got to take care of business this week.
Well, think about it this way. If they go 5-2 the rest of the way, you got 3 divisional games in there. So most likely 2 of those losses are probably going to be Green Bay and Detroit, or 2 of those wins, I should say, would be Green Bay and Detroit, which would knock them lower in the standings as well, giving the Bears a much better shot at winning the division. Yes.
Correct. So I just think that it's a real possibility. And honestly, like I said, they've got to beat Pittsburgh this week, keep it rolling. If you lose this game, now you've got a much tougher road ahead, because this Philly game is probably one they're not going to win. I'm not going to say that because I still think it's a winnable game, but you lose to Pittsburgh and then you lose to Philly the next week. Now you're in a really tough slope trying to win the division or trying to even make the playoffs at that point, because it's tough sledding from there on out. It's a tough schedule. So they've got to get a win here against Pittsburgh, keep this momentum riding. If you win this game, you have a bunch of momentum. Maybe you can go into Philly and sneak a win away. So I think it's a very possible scenario, and they've got to win this game. Now, and going back to JoJo, I'm sorry I took so long to answer that, but personally, I think and I think Jeff kind of said this, I think it's just going to depend on health and availability in this game. If you have Jalen and Kyler out there and your secondary is in good shape, then I would say you'd probably play more coverage because you can trust those guys out there to lock down those receivers. But if you're struggling to get those guys out there, now you're probably going to blitz a lot because, number one, Gardner-Johnson is so good, rushing the passers. I think he's the team leader in sacks right now. He's got like 3.5 or 4 sacks in 3 games. Maybe it is that, but he's got a bunch. He's got a bunch for a guy who's only been up there for a few games. So I just think it's all going to depend on who's available and who's not. That's going to make the decision there. And I think Dennis Allen's going to have it planned out pretty well, and he's going to have it schemed up for, making these guys prepared to play this game. Now, again, the health is a big thing because this defense has been ravaged by injury this year, and I think they'd be playing a lot better defensively if they were healthy. This is a very good defense when healthy, and we've seen a lot out of these corners are still making plays in the ball, getting the interceptions. The linebackers have been doing a good job of that. Tremaine's been really good in that since he's been moved to that will linebacker position. So we'll just see what happens. But my honest answer is wait and see who is healthy and how to see what they're going to do. But I think that's totally going to depend on who's out there and who's not.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tim. And unfortunately, guys, we're out of time here. It was a really good show tonight. We appreciate you guys being here as always. I'm excited for this game this weekend. I've always liked Pittsburgh Steelers. They remind me a lot of the Bears with the blue collar attitude and just the way they go about business with a lot of, the players that they like to have on their team, very defense heavy, defense strong. So I've always had a lot of respect for them, but I obviously, I want to get that win this week. It's a big one for me to watch. I'm excited for it. So again, guys, we appreciate you for being here as always. A quick reminder, like I mentioned before, to please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can find a lot of great content here on the Bar Room. We do have an email address for you guys to send us any kind of questions or comments, or if you have anything you want us to get to on the show, you want us to address, or any suggestions you have for us, any criticisms, you want to punch me in the face and just want me to know that, feel free to send us an email, willisTwinTowersPodcast@gmail.com. We'll be sure to entertain any questions you might have. I can try to punch myself in the face. I'm not sure how well it would go. It probably hurt pretty bad because I do hit hard. So we'll see how it goes. But in any case, guys, yeah, feel free to send us anything you want us to get into on the show. We'd love to address it for you. And again, you can find us all on extra Twitter as well. As I said before on the show, our executive producer, Aldo Gandia, is at Barroom Network. You can find me at _Jeff Willis, and you can find my partner here at Tim Willis 24. So until next week, guys, thanks for being here as always. Actually, we're probably not going to be here next week because of Black Friday, but we will see you in a couple weeks. And until then, bear down, guys. Let's get that W.
The Bears.
This is the journey that will never end. New and mightier foes will arise. New adventures will begin. Until then, we bid you farewell.
The Willis Twin Towers podcast is a Barroom production. Jeff and Tim Willis are the producers and co-hosts. Aldo Gandia is the director and executive producer. The opening theme music was produced by Tim Willis. Any copywritten material used was under the Fair Use Act for commentary, criticism, and news reporting. This show is also available in audio-only format and can be found wherever you download podcasts. Just search for Barroom Network.